there are about 2 or 3 people that were at Fanatics Fest who did not cover their mouths when they were coughing that I want to punch, because by the time I was walking out of the New York, New Jersey stadium, I was struggling. Like, I got back, because of how chaotic the transportation was and post-game festivities and everything, I did not get back to the place I was staying at in Long Beach until about 12:30. My flight was leaving at noon. Rookie mistake on my part. And I took a NyQuil, and I was conked out for a solid 8 hours of sleep. My boss forgot that he was taking me to the airport, and he called me. I woke up right as he was calling me at 9 a.m., and he's like, I'll be there in like 15, 20 minutes. I made my flight, didn't have any issues there, but I was asleep on the plane. I fell asleep on the drive over to LaGuardia Airport, and I was asleep pretty much almost the entire 24 hours on Monday. And the last couple of days I've been recovering. So if I sound a little bit nasally, thanks to the people who were attending Fanatics Fest who didn't know how to have proper hygiene, but because otherwise we would have had this probably a couple of days earlier and gotten it out and everything. So, but Drew, I know you also had to recover on sleep from how chaotic New York was too, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that Fanatics Fest was, I mean, the amount of people there and just the chaos, it was obviously so fun. The city of New York was great. I loved everything about it. Fun atmosphere, fun vibe there, but it definitely takes all of the energy out of you. I mean, that city really wiped me, and I had to, like you said, I didn't get sick, thankfully, but I definitely had to take a few days to just like catch up on sleep and recover, because that city will really do it to you.
Yeah, you were lucky, because especially we were talking about trying to meet in the city the night of the final, after everything was said and done. And thankfully, the folks that we were trying to meet up with, everybody said, hey, we've gone our separate ways. It's too late in the night, because I didn't get out of the stadium until about 8 o'clock. So fortunately, it worked out that way, at least for me, because I don't know if I even would have woken up to get to the airport in time.
Yeah, me too.
The grand scheme of things. But anyways, we're supposed to talk about football. We'll talk more about Fanatics Fest in a bit, but we have T-Bull joining us for full disclosure. Before we started doing this podcast, I watched the highlights of France, England, because I was on a train getting back from Fanatics Fest and was not watching the third place game. And to be honest with you, other than the bronze medal games in the Olympics, I don't really pay attention that much to the third place playoff, just because most people have said, well, it matters for the FIFA Coca-Cola rankings. I didn't know they got bronze medals for the third place playoff. So now that I know, okay, this game does matter. And my goodness, even with Harry Kane not being in this game, England played like they were playing for the World Cup final. France played like they were playing for the World Cup final, especially with starting Kylian Mbappe and a lot of their other players. But ultimately, England gets their first time that they finished third place in the FIFA World Cup with a final score of 6-4. This is one of the highest scoring games I've seen in a long time in a FIFA World Cup, and this is the same edition where we had a 7-1 scoreline with Germany Curacao. T-Bull, I don't even want to go over the stat line numbers for these things. I don't even want to go down that route. So T-Bull, tell me what happened. What happened in this third place game?
That was nonsense. During the first half was really a real disaster, and we saw a great reaction after halftime, but it was too late because France never recovered a 4 goals deficit, so not this time anymore. And France, it was the first time France conceded 6 goals in the World Cup match. So it was a bad last game for Didier Deschamps. It was his last game at the head of France. He was really upset at halftime against his players because it was the usual substitutes who were playing during the first half. They obviously weren't committed enough for this third place game. So the head coach made 4 substitution at half time, and he was proud of the reaction after that. So it was like a good reaction from the team, but it was too late. The reaction allowed Mbappe to become the most decisive player of this World Cup. He scored twice and assisted once, so that made him the most decisive, the best scorer of the World Cup, of this 2026 World Cup, and of the history of the tournament before Messi. So it was a reaction from his part, but again, maybe we can speak about that after. But his attitude, sorry, wasn't at the top as usual. So it was a bit disappointing also, but he reacted well. And to win a little personal award, he finished the season with no non-collective title. No, so this bronze medal escaped to him, but he finished with another individual reward as best scorer of La Liga, Champions League, and World Cup. So.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, you never really know with these third place games because you never know what team is going to, give it their all and really go all out and try. And then you don't know what teams are just going to be like, we didn't make the game we wanted to make. We don't really care about this game. And you never really know with the approach. And it was kind of a mix of both because you had England and France players that usually started for them that started this match. And then you had guys that, like Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham and Dembele, superstar names that weren't in the starting lineup in the first half. So it's kind of like that weird balance of like, are you playing to win this game? Because every team's going to play to win, but how hard are you really trying out there? And clearly France in that first half just was not, they looked so lackadaisical on defense, and they're just their whole as a unit. And it's very, very sad to see the way that they started. I mean, it was a landslide in that first half. I mean, England poured it on early, scoring 4 goals, making it 4-0. Largest France has trailed. I think I saw some crazy stat. I don't know. You could correct me on this later, Thibault, but I think it was, I don't know. I don't want to say the years because I'm definitely going to be wrong, but they haven't trailed by 4 goals in a very, very long time. And, it's sad because you had guys out there like Mbappe and Olise that were still, still giving their all and trying their effort. But yeah, England poured it on in that first half. And then France, like you said, Didier Deschamps bringing on Dembele in that second half, along with 3 other substitutes. And immediately you could see the impact that Dembele made in there. And everybody was making. Olise had some beautiful passes in this one that led to some great goals. And Mbappe was able to, a great left-footed finish on that first goal of his. And he was able to score twice and get the 10-goal margin to win the Golden Boot of this World Cup, which is a huge achievement for Mbappe because, I mean, he's so accomplished and such a just unbelievable talent. And he's only 27 is kind of like 27's right in your prime, in my opinion. So he still has so much time to build off what he's already done, his incredible career. But England, this game, I mean, it's so crazy because like you just never expected a game like this to turn out to be one of the craziest games in the entire tournament, but it really did. And that second half was nuts. I mean, it was 4-0, then it was 4-3, and then it was 5-3, then it was 5-4, then 6-4. It's just crazy how many just back and forth goals there were. It was one of the highest scoring World Cup games there's ever been. So yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, go ahead.
The last time France was led by 4 goals, it was against Denmark in the 20th century, 1908.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was a long time.
I tell you, in a World Cup that history has already been made in a multitude of ways, there's just another stat that comes along. And there's just another instance that comes in. Now, granted, again, it's a third place game. So, grand scheme of things, if this were in a quarterfinal or a semifinal, and we're talking about a huge comeback by Mbappe, Dembele, Olise, and company, then we have a different story. But the fact that we're just kind of laughing at a lot of these things, it shows you how we're not taking the third place game as seriously as the players were on the pitch. Because not only did it have to do with monetary incentives, even though players don't necessarily get that, it usually goes to the association and then is distributed how they see fit. But it's still, this wasn't even. I mean, I know we've made the cliche, Drew, about a tale of two halves. That was quite literally what this game was. I mean, a 4-0 shutout for England going into halftime, and we have basically a hockey line change by France to try and make a huge difference, which it did, because you had 3 goals, one of them scored within 3 minutes. France outscored England 4-2 in the second half. So basically, if you're going by the halves on those things, England and France are technically tied. Maybe extra time if they could have looked at it that way. But I tell you, this is the last one of the last times I've seen, especially this tournament. Both teams had the exact number of attempts on goal at 19. England had more on target, 11-9. And another bit of evidence on how a third place game is not necessarily taken as seriously. Can you believe we did not have a single yellow card given in this game, especially considering we had 14 fouls against France and 8 fouls against England? It was a physical game. Like, there were still some tackles being made, but the fact that there was not even a card dealt by Jesus Valenzuela, it shows you how this was also one of those of let him play. It's third place. Deschamps is in his final game of his coaching career before Zidane, takes it over and all of that. But man, Darren Fletcher of Fox Sports was having a field day with calling this one. The broadcasters who were calling this one, they were, aside from the dreaded extreme humidity that everyone had to deal with in Miami, everyone was having a fun time with this one. And I just wish I was watching the full thing, Drew. Like, I wish I had said, you know what? Let's just go somewhere in New York, in Manhattan. Let's go to a bar. Let's just watch this game and see how this is going on. Because the game was like around, I think, 4 or 5 Eastern. So like it was around the time Fanatics Fest was over that day. So like I wish we had just gone to a bar so that we could have seen whatever everyone else's reaction was to it.
I actually don't even think we could. I think that was the day before, because I think that was the day that I got to New York. And I actually remember, like, I'd just gotten to the place I was at, and it was like halftime already. So like I was on like the airport and the Uber so like I missed pretty much the whole game. And I look at my phone and I just see 4-0 at halftime, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, well, clearly France just didn't care. And then I see they come back, it's 4-3. I'm like, oh my gosh, I literally missed one of the craziest games of the tournaments.
You're sure about that? Because it was on Saturday the 18th. So like, and you were in town because Fanatics Fest was like it was 4 days: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it was the day before the final. So like, I think you might be mixing something up here, Drew. Like, I don't mean. Yeah, I don't mean to go against the rules of improv here of saying no, but like, I remember specifically we were looking at like some notifications were going off on my phone or something and all that. So. Yeah,
I mixed up. I was thinking of the England-Argentina semifinal.
Yes,
That's the game I was just talking about. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. That we should have done. Yes, we absolutely should have gone to somewhere to watch that game.
Timo, where were you when this game was going on?
It was more calm for me. I was here in my apartment in Paris because it was a late game, like at 11 in the night. I was like, oh, I'm going to. France is not going to win the World Cup, so I'm going to watch it peacefully here. No, it was. You talk about the statistics of the fouls, but it wasn't a scandal that there wasn't any yellow card.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was fouls, but okay. And but it was about the expected goals because the two teams were at 19 shots, but the expected goals are also equivalent. Like it's almost 3 for both teams. But it was like it showed that the real problem was in the French defense. Like every time England shot, they scored. And at halftime, Dayot Upamecano entered the pitch and he improved this weakness, but still it wasn't enough. But yes, it was an open bar defense from France.
One thing I did want to ask you both, because this is, again, in the spirit of talking about a game that isn't taken on the same stakes as a World Cup final. England did not start Harry Kane. France started Kylian Mbappe. Do you think there was a discussion had of intentionally saying we need Kylian to that we need him to basically compete with Messi on the Golden Boot statistic? Like, was that was it that conversation had in your opinion, or was it a conversation of Kylian just saying, I have pride, I want to play for maybe Deschamps or country or something along those lines? Because I wonder, especially with and I don't. I will say I don't know if Kylian even himself thought, you know what, I'm going to score 2 goals in this one minimum, even though he's been doing that throughout this tournament. But I wonder what your sentiments, and I guess we'll start with your T-Bowl, of what the thought process was on, especially seeing England not playing Harry Kane, for Kylian to start this one.
Yeah, I'm sure he wanted to play, like to beat the record and to be the best scorer of the history and of this tournament. But he wasn't into his best attitude. Even before the beginning of the game, he was looking down. He was smiling after each goal from England. It was like letting the game. It was like, no, it's too late. Or however he reacted, he took responsibilities, scored twice and assist once. So it was as he did during all the competition. He took his responsibilities and scored a lot. But the attitude wasn't really wasn't perfect at all. And after the game, he was really disappointing. He ran to the bench and like sat and obviously visibly very, very sad and disappointed. But yes, this attitude wasn't the best of the tournament. He finished like this World Cup with 2 defeats, and his dreams of Ballon d'Or seems to fly away. So a bad end for him.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, the Golden Boot tracker and his desire to chase, history and, catch Lionel Messi in goals in the World Cup, I definitely think that had a factor in him playing. Obviously, it's the athlete's decision. I'm not sure Deschamps had that much influence on him playing. I think if he wanted to play, he played, and then if he didn't want to play, he wasn't going to play. I don't think that it was anyone but his decision. And I think that obviously the factor of, you're tied with Lionel Messi. It's possible you can get the Golden Boot. It's possible you can catch him in all-time World Cup goals. That definitely played a factor, in my opinion, in a game that he knew he could most likely get good looks. Because, like I said, it's a third place match. England's playing a lot of their reserves. So, yeah, definitely think that influenced him a little bit.
Drew, what do you think it says about Harry Kane that he didn't play and Kylian Mbappe did?
I don't know if it says anything negative or positive. It's one of those things. I feel like that people realize that Harry Kane is 34. I think he's 34. He's 34, 35. He still has a lot of, important games ahead in his career. And, he made the decision where he felt like this game did not matter, which truthfully, it really doesn't. If we're talking about, I know the bronze medal and everything, but truthfully, this game doesn't matter on a big stage. And Harry Kane is getting older in age. And I think that he values what he has ahead, and he didn't want to risk injury. He didn't want to, I think if he, was 5 or 6 years younger, he probably would have played. But I think he's just valuing his body and his rest. He's worked really hard this World Cup. He's had an unbelievable campaign for England. And I think that he's just valuing his future. And I think that this doesn't say anything bad or really good about it. I think this is just a mental and physical health decision.
Thibault, you will be happy to know this, that even with France losing in the third place playoff, they are still third in the updated FIFA Coca-Cola rankings. So, and England is fourth, which to me that doesn't make any sense. But for your vantage point, it's like, okay, they stay in that they get to stay in that threshold at least. They're at third and they're still on the top there as they go in the rest of the international play later on and such. But figured that'd be a cool tidbit for you to know that they're still above England even with the loss.
Smaller comfort, yes.
Small amount of comfort, right? Well, but congratulations to England. I mean, they finished third place for the first time in their men's national team history at the FIFA World Cup. And for France, I had to look back at the stats actually to make sure if they are. That's a good question. Let's see on their competitive record in the FIFA World Cup. Have they ever finished fourth place? Yes, they have. That was back in 1982, where they got
After
fourth place on that. So second time that they've gotten fourth place here, but still, I mean, made it to the Final Four. Especially, they were on the verge of being 3 straight appearances in the FIFA World Cup final. It's just tough to get a goal against Spain in this tournament, as Drew and I will talk about. But anyways, Thibault, we appreciate you joining us throughout the podcast, throughout the last couple of weeks. It's been a pleasure having you on to talk about France. And fortunately, we've had you on for the most part whenever France has won. So now we know that you being on the show here, it was not a superstition thing. But regardless, we appreciate the... Yes, but we appreciate the conversations, man, and I know we'll get to see you down the road at some point.
Thank you. It was also a pleasure. And just to mention, like France also finished fourth at the Under-20 World Cup last October.
Yes.
So
was, back in fall in Chile. So Under-20 and the top stage national team, they're staying consistent in a way. So it only goes up from here, right?
So the next head coach will have to do better. It will be like surely Zinedine Zidane should be nominated on Tuesday.
Yeah. So, yeah. We're looking forward to seeing that. Thanks, Thibault.
So thank you very much for this adventure and have a good podcast. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Friend Thibault joining us at the very early hours of the morning over in France. Before we get into highlighting the obvious, I do want to make sure we get a chance to highlight. We talked about this in that we recorded one of our episodes in New York City in the Javits Center, which that was a trip in itself trying to figure that logistic stuff out. But Drew, I want to give you a chance to highlight. This was both of our first times at Fanatics Fest. There was a lot of good things. There's probably one event that we both want to gripe about since we have our soapbox too, but overall, I mean, being in the same room as a whole bunch of icons in the sports side was just incredible, especially for those who don't know about Fanatics Fest. The way they have it organized is they've got several booths and things, but security also blocks off at certain sections these runways for VIP guests and talent to walk through. And a lot of the times, I was telling Drew, there was at one point I'm waiting to see if Dana White was going to walk down him, which was probably not going to happen. But I was waiting for Dana White to walk down one of them, and in the same section, Puka Nacua, Draymond Green, and there's one other one, I think Kevin Hart walked through the same section of all these congregations of people being in the same room and everything was really special. But first time for you at Fanatics Fest, man. Your thoughts?
It was surreal. It really was. It was just an unbelievable event. The place, it doesn't look as big on the outside, which, obviously I only saw one angle of the building, but the inside just has so much space and so much room, so many different stages and platforms. And it was really amazing. There's so many opportunities, so much stuff to do. And I'm so grateful that I was media credentialed for it because I didn't have to, wait in crazy lines or anything like that. I kind of could just, navigate to which panel or event or podcasts that wanted to attend, and it was a very smooth process. Not much confusion on anything. They had great little games for everybody. They had great little merch places. I mean, it was just a really amazing event. I got to see some crazy celebrities I never thought I'd see that close, athletes I never thought I'd see that close. And yeah, I mean, obviously the highlight for me was the official FIFA World Cup press conference, the final press conference between the Spain team and Argentina team. That was, which I don't know if you call it a press conference. We talked about that a little bit, but it was still just unbelievable to see all the talent on the stage. And yeah, just a great event, something I definitely want to attend more of in the future. I loved New York City, and yeah, it was amazing. No complaints.
It was a pain to get into the World Cup final press conference, though. I'm surprised you say no complaints after that situation. So, just a smidgen of a soapbox here. So, they had announced there was the World Cup final press conference, which the coaches and the captains were going to be at, and it was in the main section of what was called the theater, and they had multiple sectioned off lines for people to get in, and they had a line for media, they had lines for Team Argentina fans, Team Spain fans, and they had some other like VIP like badge lines and things like that. And so we get down there like 30 minutes early, a little bit of media starting to line up, and we go there, and they're starting to shoo some people away. They're saying if you don't, because there were the people who were credentialed to the FIFA World Cup, they were allowed for the day of the press conference to go to Fanatics Fest and do all the other stuff at it. Excuse me. As you can tell, it's getting to 1 a.m. over here when we're recording this. But so we were in the line for those who had credentials to Fanatics Fest, which I had both. I had both of them on, and the staff member looked at mine and he said, yeah, you're probably good to stay here. It makes sense for you to be here instead of the line outside with the World Cup folks. So we get we get to the line. Turns out it's starting at about 5:30, which is like, okay, we got to the front of the line. It's fine. I do not know who at Fanatics Fest on their staff screwed up on this, but somebody thought it. So there were all the lines, but there was this one like garage door that was basically lifted and uplifted for you to go into the theater. And there was it was like this small hallway that had black curtains that were separating off the outer sections of it. And whoever on staff thought this was a good idea, definitely they had conversations about it afterwards, and they said, don't do this again. Normally, and we saw this a little bit with the David Beckham panel event that we were at prior to. And normally it's let media go in first. Let VIP people go in first, and then you decide whichever ones you have go in from there. Again, Argentina and Spain, spirited rivals of football, lovers of their team. Okay, guys, everyone go in at once. And of course, the obvious happened that was supposed to happen when you put fans who are chanting their team name and cheering on their fan stuff. There were people who started fighting at the front of the lines, and like media, they did the same thing with media where all of us were entered at the same time. And we start going in, and there's just this huge pile of people who are trying to get bottlenecked in. Line of security forms up and says, nope, we're not letting anybody in because of this incident. And then we're just standing there waiting, and a couple of media folks up front are starting to complain a little bit. We're all holding up our media credentials, trying to say, hey, this is a press conference. We're trying to cover it, and we're not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
The garage door starts closing. Everyone starts booing. And the rest of us media folks are like, well, what the hell? Like, we're literally here to cover this for our media outlets. This is stupid. And as you can imagine, even though there's air conditioning on in that place, we're pile of people. At one point, security looks and gets on the speaker and says, we need everyone to step back. How are you going to do that with a huge crowd of people and have a step back? Like, it's not going to happen. Finally, after about like 30 minutes of this nonsense, finally someone gets on the speaker. We're only letting media in. The fans boo, of course, but They cut through a security, like form a line, all media walk through, hold up your credentials. And we managed to get in. And somehow there was a seat at the front, basically, for me and other media folk. But the other stupid part of it was that some people from FIFA, there were a whole bunch of people that were crowding. So there were separate media sections. I was in the section that if you had the FIFA World Cup media credential, that's where you were going. And then you, Drew, were on, I think it was the other side of the aisle where they had the Fanatics media that were attending. And the FIFA media people, or at least those who had the media credential, several of them were crowding towards the edge of the stage and like standing up on chairs and filming and such. And some of the FIFA staff members finally came over. They're like, hey, this is a no standing zone. You need to sit out. Because because there were people being forced to stand on chairs because there were so many tall people standing in front that they couldn't film. And well, they said that at first, and then they just stopped. And there were a bunch of people who were coming over. Like, I had one guy ask me, hey, can you move your backpack so we could squeeze in? I'm like, you're not even supposed to be standing in this zone. Like, what in the world?
What?
But they called it a press conference. It was a pep rally. That was not a press conference. Was. They had formal press conferences for the teams that were separate. The reason I was there is because I thought Gianni Infantino was going to be there and having like a World Cup final press conference and such. But I will say it was cool to see Tom Brady, Djokovic, and Durant on the same stage with like Kevin Hart and Lionel Messi and Ramirez and both coaches for the World Cup final. Like, that part was cool. Just the whole, excuse me, it's getting towards that hour of the night, folks. I apologize. As you can tell, we're tired from the World Cup. But I tell you, it was cool seeing them on that stage, but it was just, it drug out. It just kind of drug out, and the amount of effort it took for us to get in there in the first place was just a struggle in itself. But I mean, like you said, it was still cool being a part of it in the pep rally and such. So.
Yeah, I mean, they called it a press conference. It really wasn't. It really wasn't a press conference. It was more of just a celebration, kind of a glorification of both of this Spain and Argentina teams, how hard they worked to get to where they are, and I loved that they brought on guys like Tom Brady, Novak Djokovic, and Kevin Durant to ask each team questions. And, it's really cool to see, other athletes. I mean, the frame that I got of Brady and Messi in, asking Messi a question. I mean, the net worth of people on that stage, I can only imagine. It was remarkable, but yeah, it was so fun. I just loved seeing the culture and like the fan bases of both of I mean, they're so like, I really never truly understood the level of passion that countries have of their soccer teams, and I think that was something that I really learned from being at Fanatics Fest, how passionate these fans are, and especially being the World Cup. I mean, the World Cup is the biggest sports tournament in the world, period. Honestly, I mean, maybe you could say the Olympics, but I don't know. I think the World Cup still clears that. And I think that we got to see the largest sporting event pep rally ever with some of the biggest names, and not just football, but in American football and tennis and basketball. I mean, it was just, and, we got guys like Kevin Hart, Travis Scott. It was an incredible event. It made the whole Fanatics Fest worthwhile.
Yeah, I don't listen to his music as much, but part of me wishes I was in the same media section as you were, Drew, because I know you were freaking out when Travis Scott came on that stage, because that was just a surprise for him to come out and start actually performing on it and such. But yeah, it was. Yeah, the press conference itself was great, and the other panels there too at Fanatics Fest were really cool. Getting to see a whole bunch of folks. I mean, I got to introduce you to Noah Eagle, good dude from really NBC dude. Sports. We also got to meet Nate Burleson from CBS, guys who crisscrossed on Nickelodeon for the Super Bowl. What a weird resume piece to put on nowadays. Of like, I called the Super Bowl on Nickelodeon. Like, I know they wear that badge with honor. I say that as I'm wearing, Krusty Krab pizza on this stuff. You see, I said I was going to not show it on camera, but once it came up in conversation, I had to say something about it.
It's a
But
great shirt.
Oh,
Great
yeah.
shirt.
Oh, yeah. It's great, especially for the pajama side. But anyways, Fanatics Fest was great. Aside from getting sick, but that just happens at conventions where you're going to get, sick or deal with crowds or things there were obviously times where you're trying to shove through a whole bunch of people and such where it just gets a little like, come on, guys, can we have a little more decency here? But, you get it. Also cool to see Jason Sudeikis there. Like, we tried to get a photo with him, but he was clearly wanting to get out of there. He was selling cards and such. And then obviously he was there for, the World Cup final halftime show and doing stuff the next day. But, yeah, really. Goodness gracious. I keep yawning, man. I need to get some coffee in my system or something, but we'll get through it. But Fanatics Fest, great. Appreciate the credential. Great for us to, talk about it and cover it. And yeah, I mean, it also gave us a chance to have a lot of good New York streetcar food. Like, especially they have a whole bay on the lower floor of the Javits Convention Center where they have the food trucks. Pricey as New York is, but there's some decent food. It wasn't too bad. So, okay. Still surreal to think that, I was in attendance at this one, and still surreal to think that it went all the way the distance that it did in terms of extra time. We almost got to a penalty shootout, which, to be honest with you, Argentina probably would have won it if it went to a penalty shootout, but Spain got it done. Second time that they have won the World Cup for their men's national team. 2 times that they've done this in the span of 2 decades, which hard to believe to be able to get to that sort of thing. France almost did that with back-to-back titles. But man, what a final, man. Especially with it was just chance after chance for Spain. I mean, I say what a final for Spain. 20 shots on goal, 12 on target. They possessed the ball 65% of the time. Easily could have been solved in regulation, but they were offsides 4 times and closely offsides in several metrics to add to that as well. Argentina only had 2 attempts on goal. 0 of them were on target, and those attempts on goal were in extra time too. So this is hard for any Argentina fan to swallow, especially with the amount of miracle comebacks that they had in the elimination games of this tournament to be able to get to this point. I mean, credit to Spain only conceding 1 goal in their campaign to win a championship, which has never happened in World Cup history. And to be honest with you, it was also one of those rippers of a shot from Belgium, as we talked about in that quarterfinal, where no goalkeeper saving that. Like, no one saving that shot from Belgium. But the fact that I feel for Ramirez, Argentina as well, because he had to face 12 shots on target and was fighting for his life basically to keep Argentina in play. And that final goal that went in, he tried to get repositioned, but just crisscross corner on that goal led in by Ferran Torres. And man, and I'm not even mentioning the double yellow, the red card that happened here, which it didn't even feel like with Argentina playing down a man that they were really felt like they were down a man. The one thing I will say, and I know this is common, that it has been a pattern throughout the tournament and through the last couple of years. Lionel Messi, you're down a man. Why are you walking on the offensive side of the pitch and not getting involved at least on where the defenders for Spain are coming in and pressuring? Like, you're down a man. Like, it's different if you've got 10 versus basically 10 there, but you taking out, it's 9 versus 10 at that point. Like, you've got to help your team a little bit here, because that's at least the sentiment I got when I was looking at the time forward from 90+3 forward, where it was just It was just Lionel Messi not really getting as involved as he should have. I mean, if you even look at his specific stat line throughout this game too, he had one attempt on goal and it wasn't even on target. So the GOAT did not show up in this World Cup final when he should have. I mean, he had a couple of free kick opportunities and he was making some passes to try and set up some chances, but I mean, again, it's not just a Lionel Messi thing. I mean, Martinez, just incredible game in between the pipes, and unfortunately, it was not his fault that Argentina lost this game. But man, if you're an Argentina fan, this is hard to swallow.
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting final. I watched it around some very passionate Spain and Argentina fans. I was luckily in a setting to where I had, I could see both sides of the emotions. And this was a dominant game from Spain. Yeah. I mean, you see the stat line, but even when looking at the stat line, obviously it shows how dominant Spain was, but sometimes stats don't tell everything. You watching the game could tell that Spain was the much better team. And they're so good at possession. And we talked about this in the build up to this game. They're so hard to get off the ball. And Argentina had that kind of in this tournament to where if we go down a goal, it's okay. We'll come back. We've done it. We did it against Cape Verde. We did it against Egypt. We did it against England. We can do it against Spain. No, you can't. Spain is a different level. They possess the ball in the midfield better than anyone in the country. They play cohesively. They play together. They have such a talented group of guys out there, and they were, ranked number, I believe 2 going into the tournament behind Argentina for a reason. I mean, this Spain team is really, really good, and they showed it. They outpossessed the heck out of Argentina. They outshot them. I mean, 20 shots and 12 on target. How they only scored 1 goal is incredible. Martinez in goal for Argentina played his heart out, and he really saved them in a lot of situations where it could have been 2-3-0 at some points, even in regulation. The game didn't really even have to go to extra time, and I was really scared, really starting to get worried that the game was going to go to PKs because as dominant as Spain was in that game, it was still 0-0. It was still 0-0 up until that 106th minute. So I was, that's the second half, by the way, of the extra time period. So I was really starting to get worried for Spain in that regard, because you could dominate a game all you want, but if you don't score and it goes to PKs, anything can happen. Yeah. So that would have been really unfortunate. Luckily it didn't. I think that Spain was the better team and the deserving champion of this World Cup. For Argentina's sake, I don't know. They dominated for, the group stages and then even into the knockouts a little bit, but their team was never really, in my opinion, playing to the level that they should have in the knockout stages. I think that all of their wins were kind of battle, especially that Egypt and Cape Verde game were kind of like battle back wins. Yes, they defeated a very good team in England in the semifinals, but that I never was fully convinced. I did pick them to win this game simply because I was just like tired of betting against Lionel Messi and him proving me wrong. But I deep down, I even said this in the prediction that I made. I said, I'm going to pick Argentina to win, but I think Spain is the better team. And I stood on that going into the game. And yeah, for as great as he was in this tournament, and don't get me wrong, I'm not dogging him. He played unbelievable at age 38, 39. I don't know how old he is, but where was Lionel Messi? I mean, I feel like his name was hardly called in that regulation. I think that it was just like very strange that he didn't touch the ball nearly as much as he has in past games. And I think that was credit to Spain, maybe tactically trying to take him out of the game as much as they could. But at the end of the day, you're Lionel Messi. You have to get involved. You propel, you create for your team. Where was that? It felt like Spain was just so dominant on the ball. It felt like Argentina had literally no possession at all the entire game and no chances. I mean, 2 shots, 0 on target in a World Cup final is astonishing for a team that is, as good as Argentina had been in the World Cup. So credit to Spain. They played unbelievable. Also want to point out the red card was very deserving, in my opinion. For Argentina, it was actually a second yellow, but the second yellow the challenge by Fernandez. It was a terrible, silly challenge. You did not need to do what he did. You do not need to put yourself in a position. You know you're already on a yellow. You do not need to do that and get sent off. You know you're about to go into a 30-minute extra time period. Why do that? Why silly, aggressive challenge for no reason? That was a very dumb decision on his part, and I'm not going to say it cost them the game because I think they were dominating already at that point. But being a man down in extra time is never what you want, especially in the World Cup final. So credit to Martinez for playing great for Argentina in goal. He can only do so much, but even more credit goes to Spain and how they were able to play in this incredible final.
Switzerland did the same thing in the round of 16 against Argentina, where it was a silly double yellow, which I know that Switzerland's bench was upset about and they claimed on the referees and stuff. But it's like this is the second time that it's happened, at least in the knockout stage that I can recall, where you got to be careful about this stuff. When you're on a yellow, you're on a yellow. Like you shouldn't really play any risk on this sort of thing, and I remember mentioning this in our preview of the final, Drew, about how Argentina did not look like they were gassed up until that point. But I think playing 2 games of extra time before the semifinal and pretty much in 2 or 3 of those games having to play from behind in a way and come back, sorry, not just 2, but 3 games, because including Egypt, Cabo Verde, and England having to play from behind in each of those competitions. Like it, at some point, something's got to give. And
Absolutely.
For Argentina, it almost looked like they were not really pressuring on the ball. But again, this is a Spain team that has been tremendous throughout this World Cup. I mean, again, only conceding 1 goal against Belgium in the quarterfinal, which was the equalizer, and from there, nothing else. I mean, you talk about somebody who deserves, who deserves the Golden Glove. Man, Simone had such a tremendous tournament. Unai Simon, man, Golden Glove for him. Even though Ramirez would have absolutely deserved it if he could have gotten the chance, because it record most saves by a goaltender in a World Cup final, which in terms of the full tournament, who was it? Somebody was trying to correct me on that. They're like, no, it was Tim Howard. I'm like, no. I'm talking about a World Cup final, not in the terms of a single game in a tournament. Tim Howard did that. But it's still, again, most saves, but at the end of the day, most people won't care about that statistic unless it comes up in a future stat line or something. But the only time it matters is when your team wins, because you can only be so much of a good goalkeeper. But again, Ramirez has nothing to hang his head about, because again, that lone goal was off of a second chance opportunity where he was trying to get in position and it went to the other side of the corner. Like, there's just only so much you could do on that, aspect. I feel like Rodri getting the golden ball is just deserving. I mean, he was tremendous throughout this tournament too. Kylian Mbappe getting the golden boot. Obviously, it's most goals, makes sense. And a lot of analysts on Fox Sports were saying it, that if that third place game doesn't happen, Lionel Messi wins the golden boot, which is very much the case. But Messi had a chance. He could have tied for the golden boot and could have done something if he wanted to. But how about Kubarsi with the FIFA Young Player Award as well, showing out in this tournament, doing well too. But I tell you, it was it was a final that, and our media seating, at least where I was, we had a whole bunch of Spain fans who were down below us too, that were feeling all the emotions, probably the same thing you were experiencing at that watch party. But man, what a World Cup final. And full disclosure, it's so difficult to top what 4 years ago was in Lusail, with going to penalty kicks and all the drama that happened between Argentina and France. I don't think this one tops it, really. Yes, we went to extra time. We were getting close to penalty kicks, but again, 2 shots on goal. zero on target from Argentina, especially for a team that has been just wiping the floor with defensive lines in this tournament. It's just Spain's back line and their midfield tremendous, and they just shut down Argentina on this offensive attack. But it's in terms of World Cup finals, in terms of all-time games and those that are pretty good, maybe we'll have to see if there's more editions of it that progress along. But at least for now, I wouldn't even rank this in my maybe top 20, maybe top 25 of World Cup finals in terms of the history. But I would not get this even close to top 10.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I think that it was a good match, but at the end of the day, it was kind of one of those. Nobody, of course, it's like, oh, it's a 1-0 game. I mean, it's one of those things. I enjoyed it. It was a very entertaining match. But I definitely agree with you. One thing I do think we need to mention is, and I know this guy is not a one-man crew. He has so much talent around him, but Lamine Yamal at literally turned age 19 during this World Cup has already won a FIFA World Cup. He's already won the Euros in 2024, and he's won multiple La Liga titles at age 19. Not to mention he was La Liga's player of the season in the 25-26 season as well. This guy has already accomplished what so many people out there are dying to at some point in their careers accomplish. Even one of these things, like a Euros, a World Cup, a La Liga title. This guy's done all this at age 19. I just feel like that's so impressive and such a huge, just remarkable achievement at such a young age to achieve all that. And I think that definitely needs to be talked about, and it is being talked about. I mean, he's the face of Spain right now. So, but I just had to point that out there because that's ridiculous.
I think it's being talked about, but not for the praise that you're mentioning, Drew, because he had a quiet World Cup. Like, he only scored one goal and didn't really, at the age of 19, he's the face. And yes, I understand there was the talk going into the tournament he was going to be unavailable in the group phase, and turned out he was available, but he only scored one goal. I mean, he got involved in several aspects and he was helping a little bit, but people are talking about it. At 19, he's already won a World Cup and the Euros, but he had a great Euros, but he really had a mediocre World Cup run. Now, I will say it's because of the pieces around him that were so tremendous that in spite of him not stepping up to the, perfect picture paint that everyone has said, Spain is tremendous, they're amazing. He didn't really have to show up in this tournament, and he didn't, even though he probably should have. But I think you're right in that, it needs to be talked about that at 19, he's won a World Cup, and now the sky's the limit for him. It kind of reminds me of when Lionel Messi earlier in his career won a gold medal at the Olympics, and from there, sort of, he wanted to win a World Cup, and the sky's the limit beyond that. It kind of gives me that vibe there too, but it's I think there's just so many more great people on the Spain team that are being talked about, as they should be, because Lamine Yamal didn't really do that much. He scored one goal. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at on him, is that I'm not saying the spotlight was too big for him, but he didn't really show up that much when the spotlight was there, and maybe that's a little bit of lingering injury and he didn't push himself as much. I mean, even in the final, he had a couple of shot opportunities and he wasn't landing it in the back of the net. This game could have, I mentioned it, 4 offsides. This game could have very easily been a blowout for Spain, but a lot of offsides and chances, and Lamine Yamal had a couple of them, and he just couldn't land one in the back of the net. So, but I understand what you're saying. If he scored multiple goals in this tournament, I got you. But the fact that he was sort of mediocre in this, I don't know if that's the conversation that needs to be had at this moment. Maybe a couple of months down the line, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I agree.
But that was a World Cup final. And by the way, I know we're not. Again, we've talked about political things, and we've said we don't get involved in politics, but how about in the trophy presentation? It is so funny. This is now the second time this has happened where Donald Trump at the Club World Cup final with Chelsea, he's standing there applauding like he's a part of the team. And then the World Cup final, he does it again. And Infantino, you could see him again trying to pull him away, like trying to say, dude, like, come on, man. Like you're not a part of the team and such. So, and it's now I will say there was a producer or somebody from Australia. Like there was a clip that went out that the Australian feed for the World Cup, some producer was caught on a hot mic basically saying they can edit that out. It's been photoshopped out already, which, but it's just, that just kind of makes me laugh of how I part of me wonders if there was intentionality behind that. If he knew, he's like, let me create a meme, let me generate social media discussions so that way people are talking, or if it was just, again, a moment of, well, let me not listen to Infantino, let me sit here while they're, the confetti or whatever. That was just a funny moment for me.
If you know Trump, he loves trophies, he loves gold. So he was going to be anywhere near that World Cup trophy. So it was so funny to see him on stage, and then you can see Infantino sprinting over, hey, we need to go, and Trump was just kind of just chilling there, didn't really
smiling
want to move,
and then clap.
But yeah, Spain did, and FIFA did edit him out of the championship photo. So. That I guess they got what they had wanted.
It's just one of the more funny moments throughout the tournament and such. And one thing I will say, decent halftime show. All the talk as well about, it's a money grab. They're doing this like American sports and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I enjoyed pretty decent halftime show. I didn't have any major problems with it or anything. I mean, I'm a fan of the Muppets, so it was kind of fun to see them on the stage and everything. But I mean, J-Beebs did all right. I'm not a BTS fan, but they were all right. Shakira was decent. Shout out to our Colombia colleagues who are very proud of her on that aspect. I mean, Coldplay, decent with their integrations there too. And but yeah,
luckily no one had a Coldplay part 2 where they were shown on the cameras having an affair. So none of that happened.
Imagine if the world feed caught that. That would be amazing television if they caught a second moment of something like that. I have a feeling that Coldplay and their higher management has said, we are not doing any more crowd shots, or they've said, if you see any of this, you do not cue it onto the big screen. Even though it's how would anyone know? Unless somebody knew who that couple were, right? So, but, well, we get to the finish line here as we wrap up this journey that's been lasting about, if I calculate my days correctly, from June 11 to the 19, let's see, 6 weeks. So that's 42 days, something like that. My math,
104 matches.
Something like that. 104 matches. Let's see, 4, 5, 6 weeks, 45 days of all those matches occurring across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And we've recapped them all for you. We've recapped them. We've previewed most of them. Some of them we were figuring out in the beginning, oh yeah, we need to actually preview some more stuff because we're not going to do daily episodes of that crazy the travel schedule got for me. But we made sure to take you along with the action in this World Cup. We did our best, even with how exhausted we were and how exhausted we are now. But we made it a great journey, and it's like all good things, they must come to an end. And I'm not really that good at goodbyes, so I'm still trying to think about how I'm going to formulate all the words I'm going to say. So, Drew, the stage is yours on sort of wrapping a bow on this weird but fun, fulfilling journey that we've had throughout the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say how amazing this tournament was and how great this opportunity was. I love soccer. I've always been such a big soccer. I mean, I played it my whole life and I've always just been such a huge fan of the game. And I love the fact that the World Cup it was in our home country this year, something that hardly will ever happen again, although they've been in talks with,
Supposedly.
making it a 64 team and then having us host permanently. But regardless, this was just an unbelievable experience. I loved seeing all the teams and all the cultures blending. That was my favorite part of this whole experience, especially being at Fanatics Fest, seeing how Spanish and Argentinian fans collided. It was so fun, and everything about this experience from June 11th to July 19th was just incredible. And I really, again, want to thank you for asking me to host this podcast with you. And it came at an incredible time for me. So I've enjoyed every second of it. I want to thank the National Sports Media Association as well for allowing us the platform to create this amazing podcast and share our knowledge, whether you like it or not, with the world. And it was just an honor for me to speak about something I'm truly passionate about. I never take any opportunity for granted. I always love talking about sports, and whenever I can, I always love to give my opinions on stuff. Again, even if you don't like them. So again, I want to thank you, Spencer, for everything. This has been such an incredible journey, and something I'm gonna be really sad that we're not gonna make episodes anymore. But all good things come to an end. So.
No, it was very easy to know who one of the first people was going to be that I would call for starting the podcast, and knowing the other folks who would, get involved, especially because it was also very timely because you were
Very.
fresh in my mind, where I think you asked me in like December, January about any opportunities to be involved with the FIFA World Cup. And so when I was starting to think about, when the idea was thrown out by the folks at AIPS about, hey, we might do a podcast or something along those lines, I thought, okay, well, Drew needs to get involved in some aspect. And it was just very timely, and you kept persistent with me as whether I've taught you for better or for worse. If you learned in this industry, you have to be persistent to be able to get what you want. So it was an easy choice, and you've been a great co-host, great podcast editor. All the social media clips have been good too, in terms of getting the stuff distributed and all those things. So I appreciate your dedication and work throughout the summer. 10 years ago, I figured out that I wanted to be in this industry in sports media. I figured out that this is what I want to do. This is what I want to pursue with my life. And, about 10 years ago, there was still not a decision on who was going to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And I was going into my senior year. I was goalkeeper for my high school soccer team, so going into that final year. And I was just starting out community college, and through 2017 and 2018. And over that summer, that was when the announcement came out from the FIFA Congress that the United States, Canada, and Mexico had won the joint bid to host this World Cup. And 10 years ago, if you talked to a 17-year-old Spencer, he would not have thought in his wildest dreams he would be attending the World Cup final. He would not have thought in his wildest dreams he'd be even doing a podcast about talking about the World Cup, or being involved, or getting to talk and meet with so many folks I respect and admire in this industry. It just would not have really registered, especially as someone who was just going into his senior year of high school, was just thinking about, this is what I want to do, and not even thinking about the World Cup as a potential option. And it's been kind of I guess a cherry on top. I'm still in the sports media industry. This isn't a farewell tour or anything along those lines. But it feels like the last decade is really culminated to this, and you realize in moments like this that it's not about you, it's about the people around you that have gotten you to where you are today. And there's a long list I could go down to thank for all those people who've gotten me here. But especially in this process, I have to thank the AIPS president, Gianni Merlo, for giving me the credential to the World Cup and allowing me to be a part of the AIPS hotline, to be a part of this whole experience and to cover games and be on site for the World Cup. Also, my colleague in Nadine at the AIPS office, who's been so supportive and publishing my articles, as well as Shibu at the AIPS office, who have both been incredibly supportive. And Shibu has also been great at her AIPS hotline segments throughout the tournament down in Mexico. I certainly have to thank my mentors, Martin Mazur and Ricardo Romani, who were heavily pushing for me to get credentialed to this World Cup and have been so supportive, and were my mentors down in Chile for the under-20 World Cup, and just have been, some of the best colleagues you can have. Like Drew, with not just the National Sports Media Association, but also a huge thank you to Dave Gorin in his support and his efforts in supporting the podcast, as well as supporting me in my journey throughout the World Cup. And just, again, one of the great colleagues and great friends you can have in this industry is certainly my family. I have to thank for their support throughout this, and the amount of rides they've done to and from the airport, so I didn't have to pay for as many Ubers, especially with how crazy the transportation side has been throughout this World Cup. And certainly I have to make sure I, name one last time all of the great folks who've donated to the podcast and have helped to make this a great experience. The Banzette family, Robert Eggleston, Jason Edmonds, Dr. Thomas Flagel, Nick Kelly, Juanita Bergeson, Dave Gorin also on that list as well as Andrew Billings and Teresa Walker, and certainly the LI Sports Network as well, and Michael Brown and all the great colleagues I got to visit in New York, and their support throughout the World Cup journey as well. It's just been incredible throughout these last 5 weeks, and I mentioned it earlier, wouldn't want to necessarily share this with anyone else on the other side of the microphone than Drew. Special thanks as well to all the guests who've come
Likewise.
in ETN and Kai and T-Bull and Yzma, as well as Connie and all the other folks who have joined us along the way or supported, given some good comments on the podcast as well, and all the colleagues that I've gotten to meet throughout the World Cup experience. So many great people who work incredibly hard at what they do, and make it just as inspiring for us to do what we do. And certainly as well, thank you to the listeners, those who have listened and given us feedback and enjoyed the podcast as well. Just like Drew mentioned, whether or not you enjoyed what we said or talked about, or the opinions or picks we gave, you still listened, you still supported, you still enjoyed it, and we're very thankful for that sort of support. But yeah, this comes to an end. Spain wins their second World Cup. And maybe we do this again in 2030. Who knows? Maybe we do it again for another edition of some other sports. I mean, the Olympics are on the horizon. Do you want to talk about some other sports like diving, freestyle, all that kind of stuff, Drew? Maybe some Olympic stuff.
Well, I mean, might as well expand our platform here.
Yeah, well, maybe something along those lines. But for now, again, we thank you for joining along this journey. And for the final time, for Drew Williamson and all the hardworking men and women that have made this podcast run so smoothly, I'm Spencer Thompson saying so long for the final time. The 2026 FIFA World Cup podcast of the National Sports Media Association concludes. Congrats to Spain. Thank you all. Hey there, thank you so much for listening or watching the NSMA 2026 FIFA World Cup podcast. A special thank you to our Platinum Insiders, the Banzette family, Robert Eggleston and Jason Edmonds, for their support of the podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast and my journey to the 2026 FIFA World Cup, the link is in the description. Not only are all donations potentially tax deductible, as the NSMA is a 501c3 nonprofit, but you also can get your name here on this graphic in the description, and you could get some exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Appreciate those of you who have donated so far, those who are going to donate, and hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast during the 2026 FIFA World Cup.